first? Who? Got to first base. Who? Got first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Thank you for listening to this episode of Who is on First. I am Tim Ellerbrook. That is Brian Caplinger. We are without Michael today because we are talking exclusively Cardinals, and he refused, as a Cubs fan, to even participate. He vomited in his mouth just a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. Something we're going to do the next few weeks is I also want to do a deep dive on the Cubs, but this week we're just going to talk Cardinals exclusively, and I'm really excited. But Brian, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. I tell you what, though, I mean, I love the NFL and the NHL season, but man, I am missing some baseball right now.
For real, man.
I'm telling you, World Baseball Classic can't get here quick enough.
Speaking of, I am super excited about that, but I've got some content ideas for that. We are excited because I think we're just going to go like full bore into the WBC, but that's not there yet.
Right. We got time, so no need to rush that. Let's stick with just the Cardinals here because there's plenty to talk about there too.
Absolutely. Although I'll just take whatever baseball I can get right now at this point. I felt that way like the day one after the World Series. It was like, oh, we're not going to get this for another 3 months. That's really sad. Before we jump into it too, though, I just want to let you guys know if however you found this, obviously, but do us a favor. It would be awesome if you could follow us on X and YouTube at WOFBB Podcasts. Give it a like or something, make a comment, let us know about our horrible takes, and we'll go from there. But we appreciate you guys for listening, and let's jump into it. So first thing, before we jump into the Cardinals, I did want to ask you, the offseason's obviously officially begun. The GM meetings just happened. At those meetings, though, all of the big major awards are given for the season. The big ones I want to focus on are the MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year. The MVPs were for the AL. It was Aaron Judge, and that was a hot topic. We'll talk about that for just a minute. The NL, it was unanimously Shohei Ohtani, which I think is probably going to be standard. We'll talk about that for a little bit. The Cy Young was Paul Skeens and then Tarek Skubal. And Rookie of the Year was Nick Kurtz and, how do you say his name? Drake. It's Baldwin, right?
Yeah.
For the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Any thoughts really quickly about the Rookie of the Year?
I mean,
between the two?
Neither really stood out to me. I mean, it's fascinating to me that 1-2 really came out of Oakland, or I should say Sacramento, the Athletics.
Yeah.
Because early season, obviously, I would have pegged Jacob Wilson to run away with that, but just the emergence of Kurtz and I think what he was able to do with, the offensive slug and all that fun stuff, none of them really surprised me. The only slight maybe I think is Cade Horton of the Cubs. I think really deserved to be a little bit more in the conversation. But I mean, obviously games played overall and what Drake Baldwin was able to do. I'm not disappointed in that. I think Horton's injury towards the end of the season just probably maybe pushed him out of the mind of some of the voters.
Yeah. I don't know. I think did Cade Horton start? Forgive me for this, but did Cade Horton start at the very beginning of the season?
I don't think so, and that's why I think Baldwin was there from the beginning, and I mean, granted, did some really good things. I mean, 274, 19 home runs, and a 3-1 F-WAR. I mean, as a catcher, I mean, so I'm not disappointed in that. I just think there maybe should have been a little bit more consideration for Cade Horton, and that pains me to say as he's a Cub. But I mean,
tastes a little sour coming out of the mouth.
Right. But I mean, he really did perform well, and legitimately probably would have been a Game 1 starter in the playoffs had he not gotten hurt.
I do agree. Yeah, I didn't think as much about that. I value the catcher position a lot, though, and not everybody does. But in the end, I mean, I'm trying to pull up his reference page. I should have had this. Drake Baldwin played in 124 games. Cade Horton had 118 innings, which is a lot for, I think about for us, for Matthew Liberatore, I think got like 140 or something, 150 or something, which was a career high for him. I do agree. If he finished the season, Cade Horton probably would have won because he did end in the ERAs in the twos, I believe, right?
Yeah. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Baldwin. I think it's well deserved. I think he's going to be a stud of a catcher, and I think Atlanta's got some decisions to make because they just traded for a pretty decent catcher.
Well, they are looking for pitching, and I think we have one.
So, well, hey, yeah, absolutely.
Horton threw 117 innings, 118 innings, ended with a 2.67, which is phenomenal. Yeah. Anybody's going to take that. I do agree with you on vote 1 and vote 2 for the Athletics, Nick Kurtz and Jacob Wilson. Good for that team, but it kind of makes you feel bad because not makes you feel bad. I don't feel bad for them whatsoever. The bad decision, I guess you could say, with Nick Kurtz not coming up from the start of the season because the team doesn't gain the draft pick from that win because they didn't start him at the beginning of the year. They held him for a month, maybe not even a month.
Right. I mean, and that's probably oversight on their part, but let's be honest, since Billy Beane, they haven't really been a very strategic styled club. And so I think it's just one of those things that, I mean, credit for bringing him up when they did, but I think, you're right. You miss out on an opportunity to get an awesome draft pick coming up. With that, but the reality is they didn't know he was going to explode onto the scene the way he did, and I don't think anybody anticipated that.
Yeah. Swapping to the Cy Young super quick. Paul Skeens wins the National League, and then Tarek Skubal wins the American League. Any thoughts more so about the voting tally between Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet? Did you think one or the other? I know we placed our predictions for Tarek Skubal, and I wanted Crochet to win, but I would say I expected whichever one to win would be a fair vote.
Yeah, I mean, I thought towards the end of the season that Crochet actually kind of maybe outpitched Skubal to a degree, and I thought maybe he would sway some votes there. But I mean, obviously, anytime you talk about leading in ERA plus the innings, and then obviously the Ks, you start to put all three of those combined. I don't think it's a wrong choice for Skubal. I think the familiarity of him winning last year also kind of gave him a little bit of clout because he was able to come back and put a very similar season together. Yeah. And so I think when you start to see that, because you flip it to the other side on the National League, I mean, you got Paul Skeens, who was probably the most deserving pitcher of the Cy Young, even though his team could not win for him to save his life.
10-10, I think sad. He came out, right?
Right.
Record-wise?
That is really sad for a pitcher that's a sub-2 ERA for the season.
I don't think we could even talk about how unreal that number is in and of itself. What is Pedro the last time a starter did that? Yeah, I have to confirm that for sure. But
I'm pretty sure you're spot on.
Yeah, just to see a number below 2, because we think Skubal's was 2.3 or something like that, which is crazy.
Yeah,
but then Skeens to get below 2 ERA is the only thing for me. Going back to Skubal and Crochet, I think this is probably an argument that's a little bit biased because I'm a bigger fan. Crochet started one more game. Do you think that had anything to do with people voting for him more, giving him more first place votes than they would have if he didn't start one more extra game?
I mean, it's one of those things that gives you an opportunity to showcase. Now, I can't tell you, what was that final game? Did he pitch really, really well? I mean, because
he did.
I don't know. I think it's one of these things, you always see this in the voting side of things. When they pitch really, really well, it doesn't necessarily change the vote. But if you pitch bad, it can hurt you. Right. And so I think at that point, Skubal was probably the lock, and he pitched really, really well, which probably maybe made it closer than a couple others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately I was a little shocked. I thought Crochet was going to steal it because if you remember, there was a small stretch where Skubal just did not look good. Yeah. Before they got to the end of the season, he had gotten blown up, I think 2, maybe 3 times. And then all of a sudden he kind of righted the ship a little bit again. And I think that just settled everything for Skubal.
I believe his last game was the one that he hit. Was it against the Guardians? Because they needed to start him because the Tigers were in the hunt.
Right there.
And then he hit that. Man, I forgot that player's name. It's escaping me. But he hit him in the face, and then they pulled him. They let him go 2 more batters.
And then took him out.
Yeah, and then so he had a tough last game. And I've got Crochet's last game was against Toronto, which they were in the hunt for the wild card spot. He went 8 innings, no runs, earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and he lowered his ERA from 2.69 to 2.59 with just that one start.
Yeah, and ultimately when you look at it again, for Skubal it was a 2.21 ERA, a .89 WHIP.
Which is ridiculous.
Right. And then a 241 strikeout, I think, in 195 innings. So, I think when you start to put all 3 together, you see why he came out on top. But, again, I could see an argument for Crochet being the one that should have won it. Like, I'm not going to hit anybody for arguing that point.
The last thing I want to give now, biasly, I was really hoping that we would get Crochet last year.
Right.
When I watched him pitch as a starter for the first time, I was just like, whoa, this guy's got nasty stuff. But shout out to him for betting on himself because he was injured in 22, didn't play, was a reliever in 23 and threw 12 innings.
Right.
Then he wanted to start in 24 and he threw 146 innings. Then this year in 25 for Boston, he threw 205.1 innings.
Right. And there were talks at the beginning of the season that he would have like a 180 cap.
Yeah.
On innings. And a lot of
plus
credit.
The start in the playoffs. So he threw another 5 or 6 in that game against the Yankees. We don't know what that's going to be, do long term in the arm, but
right. Hey, good on him. Right.
Yeah, good on him. All right, so let's just do the MVP real quick, then we'll jump into some Cardinal stuff. So Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh went in against each other, and that was the one we knew that was going to be the biggest,
all talking point. Everybody's going to hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have any wishes that Raleigh would have won it, or are you happy with the Judge pick?
I wanted Raleigh to win it, not because Judge didn't deserve it. I just think there was something special about a catcher setting these benchmarks that he was setting, especially, given the notion of a switch hitter, the innings behind the plate, all of those things I thought were super special. But even when we recorded kind of that final podcast before the season ended and we talked about who we ultimately thought was going to be the MVPs, when I started diving into Judge's numbers, you really begin to understand, as much as we say Ohtani's a unicorn because of what he can do from pitching and the hitting perspective, Judge is not that far off, even though he's not pitching. The offensive prowess that he's put together consistently is something special. And I know people want to argue the home run total because they're in Yankee Stadium, but I don't think you can put that against him, because it's not necessarily his choice for dimensions of ballparks. He is fortunate enough to play there, but I think when you look at the high average, you look at what he's able to do with the home runs, he still walks a lot. And ultimately, when you look at what he's able to put together as a complete baseball player, maybe he's not as defensive as Cal Raleigh, but I think his offense shines a little bit more, where Cal Raleigh's defense is a little bit higher. And so I think it evens it out. And so I wasn't mad that Judge won. It would have been fun to have the big dumper kind of as the poster boy for a year.
Yeah.
But I think if Cal Raleigh can come back, and not that he has to do this again, but if he can come back and put a solid season together once again, I think it'll garner him a little bit more votes, and he might be able to sneak one out.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw something at you. Shout out to Chris Rose for getting this. Do you know how many players I'm sorry, let me ask this way. There's 3 players that in 4 seasons collectively, so 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons back to back, that have had more than a 1 OPS in their career. Do you know who the 3 are?
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. I want to say Barry Bonds won.
Yeah.
And this is where it's going to get me. I mean, obviously Aaron Judge is one.
Yeah, he's the third one.
Is it Albert Pujols?
No.
I wanted to say him. It's probably older, right?
Yeah, it is older. He's also a Yankee.
We going back to like early days, like Babe Ruth style days?
It is Babe Ruth.
Yep.
So you're in the company of two other
right.
monster historic offensive players.
Yeah.
As much as you and I are on the same page, as much as catching is incredible and one of the most important position on the field, probably, you can't deny that. Judge had a 1.1, then a 1.0, then a 1.1, then a 1.1 in 4 seasons back to back. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, with a high batting average, too.
Right. I mean, outside of...
in today's game.
Right. Outside of the dumper, we might have been looking at a Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just tells you right there. I mean, again, the high batting average, and I think we talked about it early in the season, but for the first month and a half, 2 months, dude was batting almost 500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
and we were all convinced halfway
right.
through, we're like, oh, he's actually going to finish at 400. The
Yeah.
the injury derailed him, and you wonder, like, if that never happened.
Yeah. Oh,
what
I
would he have
agree.
been able to done? But nonetheless, he still, if you look at his reference page this season, most of the numbers in his season are all bold, and he's leading in every single category,
Right.
which
And
is
he's
insane.
And as funny as it sounds, he's a solid and probably above average defensive right fielder too. So I mean,
like right above average.
right. So
He
it's
DH'd
like,
this year from his coming back from the injury, so
which I think helped him, obviously, because it takes the wear and tear off of him.
yeah. Last one, my big question. So this is Shohei Ohtani won his 4th MVP. He's got 2 at the Angels and 2 at the Dodgers. At this point, barring health, which is going to be the main thing for him,
Right.
if he can stay healthy, pitching and hitting, what will it take for somebody else to win the MVP? Is it just he's got to not be healthy, or can someone outdo something?
I mean, the only thing I can really see at this point is it would have to be like one of those historical type seasons from somebody else that's obviously not pitching. You know, maybe a pitcher can steal it in the sense if like they go out there and have like this crazy season where they pitch close to a like a 1.5 ERA, which is insane to think about, and then maybe has like these weird numbers of like 10 shutouts, you know, something of that like I honestly think it's going to take something of that magnitude, or on the flip side, a hitter's probably going to have to do something like 60-60, which I don't know that we'll see.
You think Aaron Judge would have beat Ohtani if they were in the same league for the MVP?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm going to say no because of what Ohtani brings on both sides.
Yeah. He pitched when did he start starting in July or something? So he pitched,
I think towards the end of July, right?
Only half the season or something like that. We were just talking about Judge having one of the most historic offensive seasons, and he probably still wouldn't have beat him. So I have a hard time if Ohtani is healthy and doing both. I think he's winning MVP for the rest of his life.
Right. I mean, it's stupid. 55 home runs and 146 runs that he had, all while also having a 2.87, so an under 3 ERA.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right. I mean,
so last question: how many MVPs do you think he has before his career ends? So he's got a 10-year 700, and he's 2 years in, so he's got 8 more years technically.
8, yeah, and he's got 4 already. I mean,
barring injury, yeah.
Yeah, I would say he's probably going to push the double-digit mark.
You think so? Wow.
Yeah, I think he's going to be an 8 to 10 MVP type of guy.
Yeah, there's only 2 players with more than 3 now.
I know. It's
crazy.
He's going to be talked about, you know, it's going to be the debate of like greatest of all time type of conversation, you know, when you start looking at that.
Probably already there, to be honest with you.
I mean, it's going to take, I mean, you're going to have to find somebody new that can do what he does. That is kind of that, discipline of being able to hit well, but also pitch at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. All right. Let's jump into our team, the St. Louis Cardinals. So I'm going to throw some things out there and then we'll just start talking about it. So, officially Chaim Bloom took over the team after Mozeliak retired. That happened, I mean, right at the end of the season, but then it's kind of an unwritten rule in baseball that teams are not allowed to make major moves or major announcements during the playoffs. You can kind of make statements or, coaching moves on days that games aren't happening, but they have to, I believe they have to go through the commissioner's office to tell them what they want to do. They made some coaching moves that were small that we mentioned in our last podcast, but now that the playoffs are over, then the off season is beginning. The GM meetings just happened, which happened last, I think, Tuesday to Thursday.
I think you're right. Yep.
And that's just where media gets together with the GMs, and then they also announce those awards. But all 30 teams, GMs, and executives kind of get in the same room and do some hush-hush and figure out, kind of get a feeler out for what everybody's, teams are looking for, wanting to do. One of the things that came out of it and that was written about quite a bit from different teams is that Donovan was probably the hottest trade topic candidate of all the teams. 3 teams specifically that were written about were Kansas City Royals, the New York Yankees, and the Dodgers, looking for Donovan's skill set. The Royals specifically said they were looking for someone that could play the infield and the outfield, which Donovan is the guy that can play everywhere and do everything, and he's the coolest dude on the planet with the greatest flow on the head. But also they were talking about how Arenado is expected to be traded. We've known that kind of at the end of the season. Arenado had I guess you could say at the last homestand, kind of a interview farewell, smallish, unspoken. This is probably his last thing there. And then there was a lot of talk about Sonny Gray opening his trade clause up to be traded. So I'm gonna preface this by saying the team has stated that they, and we as fans all know, we need pitching. And the team has stated that they believe Arenado will be traded. They believe they can get Sonny Gray traded. Which of the 4, I'm going to list their names real quick, out of Donovan, Gorman, who else are we talking about? Burleson, and who's Newbar, the 4 lefty bats. Out of those 4, which one do you think is gone, or is there more than one that's gone by the start of spring training?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still all in on the fact. I mean, obviously, I think Donovan's going to be gone. I think just the value is too high. And when you talk about having internal replacements, now whether or not they're going to live up to the expectation of Donovan, I mean, you're talking about Gorman getting some reps at second base. You still have Sajaci who can play that spot if you need be. And then obviously the big hot topic is, what is Weatherholt going to be? Is he going to break camp with the team? All of that type of stuff. So you've got options that are built there. So I think obviously he's going to be gone. I still there's still part of me that thinks even with the injury, Nootbaar's gone. Now I think it's sad because I think some of the value is lost, because I don't know if a team's going to want to take on a bigger, prospect release for someone that has injury, unless he can prove by the time we get a little bit closer in the middle of this offseason that he can be healthy and they feel confident about him being healthy. The problem is I can't remember a season where he's been healthy and played a full season. So I think that devalues him a little bit on that side. A lot of things I'm reading and listening to, I mean, I think they're listening on offers about Burley, but I think it would take something that would blow the Cardinals away to move on from Alec Burleson at this point. Obviously Nato, the writing's on the wall. He has to go. Now, what you get in return, I think, is going to depend heavily on where the market for the other free agent third basemans land. And then from there, you'll be able to do something. The more intriguing one to me is obviously Sonny Gray. There's value, but how much value, and ultimately where does he want to go? Because you haven't heard anything out of him as far as where he would waive his no trade to go to.
Yeah, and we probably won't. I mean, players do a pretty good job of not talking about stuff until the team decides first. It's interesting you mentioned about Nootbaar and his injuries. He played this year 135 games, which is a career high for him.
Yeah.
24, he played 109, and 23, 117, and 22, 108. So, yeah, it is interesting. The other thing that I do find interesting as I'm looking at his reference page, this year in 135 games, he struck out 119 times. Last year, in only 109 games, 405 plate appearances, he only struck out 79. I do agree with you. I think Nootbaar is probably gone as well. But it's hard to predict trades. You know, like we can get on Trade Simulator and talk about what we want, but we really don't know what other teams really want.
Right.
We can look at everybody's rosters and we're like, yeah, the Yankees need a shortstop, but they don't think they need a shortstop.
Right.
The thing I am intrigued by is not just like the 1-for-1 trades. Like there was a lot of rumors and talk in those meetings that from some reports that Donovan could go. The Royals are really interested in, and last year they traded Brady Singer for, who's that guy from the Reds with the long curly hair, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know
India, Jonathan
yes,
India.
Yes.
And they just did
baseman.
they just did a 1-for-1 swap, which on paper the Cardinals could do the exact same thing. You know, Donovan's a better version of that with better defense and more utility around the field.
Yeah.
But what do other teams want? Because like we want to not get rid of sounds really bad because Arenado's been great for St. Louis and he's a Hall of Famer, but it's time for him to go and he wants to go. But could Arenado and Donovan go together to offset, you know, what we would want to keep of his money or need to keep of his money to get 1-for-1 player? Like in my mind, the Yankees could use both of those guys. They lost a first baseman. McMahon, I think, is probably going to be traded. Their outfield, you know, Cody Bellinger is going to be gone. And for me, if there's any system that I'm looking at, the Yankees have like 6 pitchers in their top 10 from their top 30, and a lot of them have high strikeout rates, high whiff rates, and you know you don't know what prospects are going to be, but it really depends on what other teams want, because there's a couple pitchers in the Royal system that would be great for us, but maybe they're locked and we have no idea if they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I think Nootbaar and Donovan are probably gone. They
Right.
did say that Burleson is on the table, but they would have to be blown away, which if Bloom and Mozeliak are two different people, but that
Right.
term has been said before. And to me, that reads, no, he's not going anywhere.
Right. I mean, I honestly, as far as like younger, I'm not going to say young players. Obviously, I think you talk about Wynn, Victor Scott, those guys aren't going anywhere because they're
Right.
too controllable at this point. I would be shocked if Walker goes anywhere. Whether or not he's on the opening day roster, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
But because of his age and the control that they have, unless you're getting something legitimate, like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about proven young superstar, I don't think those pieces are even being in the consideration. And I would say they want to trade their catching depth, but I don't think that catching depth includes Herrera. Like, I think they're thinking trading the lower levels like a Pajes or a Pozo or even like a Crooks, a prospect catcher,
Yeah.
before they'll even entertain any thoughts on Herrera. You know, just because one of the things we're starved for, obviously, is offense and power offense. And I'm not just talking about home runs, but gap power, which that's two things that Burleson and Herrera at least showed promise in this year.
Yeah, I looked this up the other day. St. Louis was like 19th out of 30 in WRC Plus as a team, which is It's low. You don't want to be
Right.
in that number.
Right. Yeah, and I know they don't necessarily have a lot to pull from, but I would be very, very interested. Now, I don't know if it fits in the dynamic for like the Padres because now you've got reports that they're trying to sell the team. So I don't know
Right.
how much they're willing to take on players like Nootbaar and Donovan because they're going to be coming up on getting contract extensions. They're going to get, close to being past their final arbitration years, and you're going to have to decide on them. So I don't think that's like as likely as a lot of people think, at least not right now. But Kansas City fascinates me. I mean, they've talked about like Chris Bubik being available, but he's not the type of pitcher that we necessarily want. I mean, he's had success, but he's not a big swing and miss guy, which has not been very friendly to St. Louis when you talk about getting, pitch to contact style guys.
Yeah. There was another. Is he the lefty from Kansas City? Okay.
Yeah.
There was another prospect that Redbird Farmhands talked about. I can't remember his name, who has a much higher whiff rate in AAA. I believe Bubik, though, he didn't have any swing and miss in his debut this year. But in the minors, he had 11 and 12 K per 9, which is pretty high, and maybe it just didn't translate the first year.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm not saying he would be bad. I mean, he's a very strong pitcher, but again, we've said multiple times. Now, again, Bloom has the right to shift it up, but they want swing and miss. And that's just not a guy, at least, that has profiled at the major league level for that.
Yeah. I think I'm still sticking with, and again, this is based on any team that wants Donovan enough to give us the prospects that they have. I probably am looking at the Yankee system first, and then the Dodgers system, and then the Royals system. The only benefit, I mean, the Dodgers are going to have the best pitchers. The only thing, and it could work for in the Cardinals' favor or against the Cardinals' favor, we don't know. But Andrew Friedman leads the Dodgers, and he used to be a Ray. The Rays have always taken advantage of the Cardinals, but Andrew Friedman and Chaim Bloom are really good friends. They're really close. But you could also look back on the downside, in Chaim Bloom's time in Boston. I know that trade gets brought up all the time.
Right.
The trade with the Dodgers and the package that they got back. But David Price had to go in that, and all of his money had to go. That was the rule of the trade by the owners from Boston. So it didn't really give Bloom an advantage. So maybe there's still potential, if Donovan's the main centerpiece to the Dodgers, and that's, again, they have to be in the need for that player. But they've got crazy amount of pitchers that are all crazy talented and not enough room for them, for all of them. And they have Rule 5 things coming up we'll talk about in a few minutes. So I don't know. In my mind, and I don't know your thoughts, that's probably the order I'm looking in. But if we had to settle with the Royals, there's still some good pitchers in their system.
Sure. And I mean, I wouldn't sleep on Cleveland. They've been mentioned a couple times as an opportunity, and they have some young pitching. Now, it's not as proven in that regard, but they have, a guy like Parker Messick for them. Yeah. Who came up and pitched okay. A small sample size, only 7 games, 39 innings pitched, but had a 23% K rate. I mean, and throughout AAA, he's been, or through the minors, he's been a 10 plus kind of K per 9 guy. So that kind of fits the bill. And I think if you're looking at something like that, you may be able to get multiple pieces. That may be something where you get him and one other thing that may not be like that second component will be like the high risk. Like we're just going to take a stab at maybe a lower level prospect in that. Yeah. And this guy and see if it can't hit. He's a lefty, so that, that'll help us if we have like Quinn Matthews isn't back fully, or some of our lefties that we're trying to count on. This is a guy that's been at the MLB level, at least in a small sample size, that we might be able to, strike gold with to a degree.
Absolutely. So the one thing I want to bring up in this entire conversation is someone's name that has yet to ever be mentioned, and that's Nolan Gorman.
Is there much to say?
I know. We've not brought him up with the idea of being traded. We've not brought him up with as someone that wants to be that we want in the lineup either. So the question is, it's a two-parter. Is he going to be on the 26 man on spring training, or is he able to be traded? Is there enough value in him to be traded realistically to get you something in return?
I mean, I think it depends on what you want in return. I mean, could you get a solid, I don't want to say like aging, but like a solid veteran bullpen piece, potential closer out of him? Probably, because the power profile, there's going to be a team out there that's going to say, hey, I think I can fix him for a guy that's maybe got 2 years, 3 years left on a mid-level contract as a reliever. Now, I can't tell you who that'd be at this point. Obviously, I think if like Seattle or somebody like that were to miss out on like re-signing Polanco because he's a free agent, some of the things that they would want to do if they swing and miss at some other players, maybe that's a pivot and maybe you can get a little bit more out of it. But you're going to kind of fool yourself if you think you're going to get some prime prospect or high-level, young reliever in the game right now, unless you can really fool somebody. I wouldn't put it past, Bloom to be able to pull the rabbit out of his hat on that. But honestly, I think if all goes to plan, I think they would like to give Gorman one more chance here in St. Louis, rotating between that second, third DH spot, depending on what's available that day, and get him some more consistent playing time, especially in the field, to see if that bat fully develops.
I mean, the thing is, I was a Gorman fan 2 years ago. I mean, I think we all were in that 123 season. But he played 111. Yeah, he played 111 games this season. Like, that's a lot.
Right.
That's 10 less than Nootbaar. Now, I mean, to your point, the consistency of those games. But when did Arenado go down? He went down in July, early August or something. After the deadline. That's a pretty long stretch of like, hey man, get out on the field, play third base, like hit the ball, and he didn't hit.
Yeah.
In his career, his OPS is sitting at 719, 99 OPS plus, so he's right around average. The last 2 seasons have been pretty poor. The first 2 seasons were pretty good. That 2023 season, which we kind of all reference as like, oh, this is what he could be.
Right.
He was only 16% above league average, 2.4 WAR, which is great, a 478 slug, over 800 OPS, and that's great. But I don't know, man. 53 walks in that season. That's low.
Right. The only thing like I could see, like maybe there's a couple teams. I mean, obviously you always talk about like the Yankees just given because of the ballpark, Yankee Stadium. Like, I mean, any lefty in that ballpark is probably guaranteed at least 10.
Oh, if he goes to the Yankees, he's hitting 50 bombs.
Right. Like it's just that's because, why not?
Yeah.
And so I think there are always teams like that could sneak in and maybe would be willing to give you a little bit better of a prospect, if you will, to get that. Now, obviously, I say the Yankees, I don't think they're really going to entertain like a second baseman DH. They've got enough of their own problems when it comes to that, trying to figure that out. But, I mean, you look at maybe like a Houston.
Play shortstop. He could probably do better.
Right. I mean, but look at like Houston. They're in desperate need of left-handed bats. I think, consistently the only one they've got is Jordan, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah. And so they're going to need some lefties. So you might be able to get a couple teams to swing big. And when I say big, I'm not saying, again, any prime prospect. Like you're not getting, Cam Smith for Nolan Gorman. Like get those type of things out of your head.
Right.
I think it would be, you could figure out a way if you send maybe Nolan Gorman and something else. I don't know what that something else is right yet. I mean, maybe it's a Sonny Gray if he's willing, and you might be able to pull someone like a Spencer Aaron Getty. That's a possibility. But but again, you're going to have to put together a major package. Like, I don't know if a team would want to do like a Donovan and a Gorman and a Sonny Gray, all in one, because that's going to be a lot of money coming up.
Yeah,
pretty quick. And
they're going to have to make a decision, and Newbar can't be the only one, simply because if JJ Weatherholt has a good enough spring,
right,
he's going to be starting. They've pretty much said that outright. And he's a second baseman and a third baseman in this case.
Right.
He's grown up in the system as a shortstop, but he's not taking that job from Mason Wynn. So he's a lefty bat that plays second base and third base, and we have two of those.
Right. And now, obviously, I think his defense is probably solid, equal as far as Weatherholt, but his bat actually right now projects as a slightly better bat than Donovan. Not power-wise, but I mean consistency, contact, gap to gap. That's what he's going to be known for.
I mean, he's got a 65 hit tool. That's pretty It's pretty fantastic.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Showed some more power down the stretch last year as well. I remember him as he got promoted to AAA, his power numbers kind of grew. I mean, bottom line, he's the top prospect in our system. He's 5th prospect overall, according to MLB.
Right.
He's going to be starting as long as his spring isn't horrendous, and even if then,
he's probably going to be up mid-season.
Yeah. Well, I would say if Donovan plus somebody's traded, he's probably starting no matter what, just because they literally opened the lane for him. Like, hey, dude, go figure it out. I'm also intrigued by Burleson and his position, because Wilson Contreras has stated that he's not interested in going. Right. He did make a qualifying statement like, hey, if there is something, as we get closer and, it's good, we can talk about it, but I'm not interested.
Right.
So I'd give him a, 20% chance of being gone. I think it's pretty low. So that means Burleson's either going to play in the left field or he's going to DH. But then, is Herrera going to be able to catch? We won't know until the end of spring training.
Right.
So which one's going to be the left fielder? And, if as they say, Jordan Walker's going to get one more season, that means left field's pretty much the only, unless Burleson ends up in center field. That'd be an interesting experiment in another runway season,
Right.
Him out there.
Yeah. I mean, his defense got a little bit better this year, but it didn't get that good.
Yeah, right. His range will be interesting.
Yeah, you talk about right. You talk about gaps.
Yeah. He's the best hitter on the season last year. Our last season, he won the Silver Slugger. So I'm interested to see. I mean, they could also trade him too. They said, it's like, hey, if we get a blown away offer, he's got to go. And I mean, I would do the same thing. We're in a year or two holding pattern. So left field is going to be interesting, because if Burleson and Newbar are both there, Newbar's probably going to start over him in left field, which means Burleson's going to DH, which means
Herrera has to be behind the plate. Like, I mean, those are like, that's some of the question marks for me too. It's like, number one, first thing is Herrera legitimately going to be a catcher or not? Because if he is not going to be a catcher, then obviously you've got to either decide, is he going to be in left field or is he going to be primary DH? Which, again, if he's primary DH, I'm fine with that.
Right.
But, I mean, what does that mean for Burley? If Burley takes a couple more steps forward as a defensive left fielder, he's a solid defensive left fielder.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other caveat. What if you go out here and you make some of these moves and you end up with a legitimate right fielder or a legitimate left fielder in some moves?
Are you talking about someone from the Padres?
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be ideal. I don't see it happening, but
That's
I mean, even even on a lower scale, because we both agree on this one. If you go out there and you make a good offer and you land a Harrison Bader to come back to St. Louis, he gives you a right-handed bat for the days that lefty pitching is on the mound to play center field. You don't have to worry about putting Victor Scott in some bad situations all the time. I still think he should get some bats against lefties, but just not consistently.
Platoon someone that young.
Right, but then Bader's going to be a legitimate left fielder.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, it brings the question, if Herrera's arm is healed up and he can actually at least go average at getting runners and throwing runners out, can you live with that? Or, or are you then going to have him at DH, and then that becomes the issue? I think that's when the Wilson Contreras talks probably heat up, because then it's like, okay, maybe we do move on from Wilson if he's willing, and Burley gets his shot at first base to play there, and you create a spot, and you've still got those few guys that you want to hold on to. But again, I mean, let's be honest. If San Diego comes calling and says, I want Donovan, Burley, and let's even say a pitcher, you pick the one. We could say Matthews at this point. And they want those three guys and say, we're willing to give you Fernando Tatis for those three guys. I'm going, okay, thank you.
I mean, yeah, that's a deal. 100% a deal.
Right. And so I think it's not going to take like a Tatis level guy just for Burley. But I think if somebody comes to the table with something like that, where you've got a proven guy that can play right field, again, Atlanta's not going to do this, but Atlanta comes to you and goes, hey, we're really thinking about moving on from Ronald Acuna, but it's going to cost a couple players, and one of those players is Burley. It's like, are you considering that?
Yeah, if it's Burley, yes, but if it's JJ, no.
I agree. I agree with that.
Let me ask you this. If
now we're getting into hypotheticals. I know.
I'm going to shut this down here in a second. If Tatis was on the table and it took Matthews, Herrera, and JJ, plus a double A or a single A.
Right.
So basically, Matthews, Herrera, and JJ.
I'm okay with that.
It's a no for me. 100% a no.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a potential like face of the franchise type of guy.
Yeah, but the problem,
he's 27. Go ahead. And he's going to cost you.
Well, no, he 100% he's going to cost. I still don't think, and this is going around on Twitter like crazy right now. I don't think he's as expensive as everybody is saying he is, because what comes with him is $290 million of contracts.
100%. Right.
And when you're talking about transferring that type of money, because if the rumors are true and the Padres are wanting to sell, and that's why they wanted to get rid of all the players, I feel like Machado would be the one that they would need to offload, but that's going to be a less tradable contract.
Right.
They're going to want to get rid of as much money as possible from Tatis. And to me, if you're taking all the money, you're not getting much of my players for it, because I'm doing you a favor and taking all that money. So I'm going to give you a couple double A guys, a single A guy, and maybe a major league guy.
That's why I think like you could even look at maybe, let's throw this out there, maybe if, again, some of these are ifs, but if Sonny Gray is willing to go, it gives them a starting pitcher. Donovan goes there. Nootbaar goes there. Now, it hurts you because you're trading away all of your assets essentially in one move.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to give up probably another young pitching prospect. Maybe not Matthews at that point. Maybe someone like Henderson.
Yeah.
And if you had those four guys, I think you could possibly get Tatis. Again, if they like Sonny Gray in that role, because Sonny Gray's, for the Padres, it's a 2-year deal. Sure, it's a high AAV, but he's gone. And it saves the ownership on that side. Donovan, you get him for a couple of his ARB years, which isn't going to cost you a lot. But then he could be gone if you don't want to re-sign him. Yeah. I mean,
that's why
you offload the money of Tatis.
That's why I'm just not on the same page as everybody else, thinking it's going to cost so much prospect capital, because he's trading almost $300 million off the books of them. Now, are you going to have to send some players? Yeah, it has to. I think there's a rule in place that player value has to match somewhat. But if you think about the Arenado trade that the Cardinals made, and I'm not saying Arenado and Tatis are on the same level in the same cycle of their life span because Arenado came over here when he was 30, and you said Tatis is 26.
27. Yeah.
That's the very beginning of his prime.
Right.
So
that's why if you could steal that player.
Sure. Everybody's going to want to do that though.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I'm in love with him.
I know I am too. He's on all of my OOTP team. The thing for me is I wouldn't want to repeat the Arenado Goldschmidt era with getting these franchise players and having nobody around them. And if we trade JJ plus Burleson, and Herrera, that's what it costs. That's not worth the value because sure, Tatis can be on the team and he's going to provide, that superstar bat that we're looking for, but then there's nobody else around him that's going to help. And you know what you do in the playoffs? You just don't pitch to him. And then so that's my only no, I'm not giving up the farm for that player because then there's nothing for him to play with. And then he's in the same situation the Padres are in, and they're not winning.
Yeah, I mean, but the only counter to that I would say is we've got some really intriguing prospects on the rise.
Sure.
Even outside of that. And so even if a couple of those take life.
They're not getting JJ or Bernal.
No. I'm not talking about trading them. I'm just saying if you were to give up some of the farm. I can't. Yeah. I would not say give up all. Crazy as this sounds, I'm not as opposed of losing someone like Herrera, and some people are going to crucify me for that conversation because of what we've seen with him. If I can get someone that has a bat that's proven in similar capacity.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of value in looking for proven versus unproven. Yeah, sure. We have really high prospects ranked. They've never seen a major league inning.
100%.
And they could all play. JJ could be really bad. We're not going to know. Now, do we think he's going to be? No. But he could end up being really bad. There's so many one-of-one prospects that were drafted first round, first pick that have
just
been
don't make
bad.
it.
Yeah, they just don't make it. So that's super possible. And it's the same thing with pitching. They've been talking about this on 101 ESPN. I would be willing to give up prospects for proven any day, but I just can't give up prospects that are that close and have that potential and that ceiling to then have a superstar and nobody around him. I would think really hard. Now, if you're talking about giving up Crooks and, Burleson, that would intrigue me way more because then there's enough. But I can't give up Herrera, JJ, and Burleson because too much.
Would you be willing to part ways with a Burley and a Herrera?
That's a good question.
If JJ's untouchable, we'll throw that out there that he's untouchable. But if you were talking about let's say JJ, Herrera, and a Quinn Matthews, if those three could get it done.
Herrera or JJ has to stay.
Or not JJ, sorry. Herrera, Burley.
Herrera, Burley.
Matthews, sorry.
Herrera, Burley, and Matthews?
Yeah.
I'd think about that a little more.
Right. Because, and this is my thought process. You have someone like Crooks. I know he's unproven, but he does have a little bit of MLB experience. We know the defensive profile he brings is probably better than Herrera's. So even if you could say, hey, we're going to give Crooks a year to see what he is, knowing that Bernal is the ultimate, probably the goal.
Yeah.
At that spot. It gives him another year to really see if he's actually the legit prospect that we've seen. So you run it with a Crooks, maybe a Pozo or Pajes, whichever one you want there at your catching position this year. Because this year is not, the target. Obviously we would love, to sniff the playoffs if we can.
Yeah.
But then you get a Tatis who's entering his prime that might catch lightning in a bottle in a sense that really rejuvenates this whole lineup to some degree. because he draws the attention. It lets some of these other guys start to figure things out. That's my thought process there, because then you still have Weatherholt that is either here or coming. You still potentially have Gorman. It takes some of the limelight off of players like Wynn to be able to just focus.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to be the star. I mean, he's going to have to be defensively the star. Let's just be real about that. You could still go out and get a Bader, and then you're talking about an outfield of VS2 in center, Bader in left, and Tatis in right. I mean, that's a defensive outfield.
Yeah.
Plus, you're getting some offensive.
The only thing that you haven't mentioned at all is Jordan Walker. I don't see a world where him and Tatis can be on the same team.
Can you move Jordan to left?
Would you choose that over XYZ that you've mentioned already?
I mean, not this year.
Yeah.
I've told you I wouldn't be surprised if his hitting mechanics don't come back if we see him back in AAA for an entire season.
I don't disagree.
And I think in that magnitude, then you can sign a Harrison Bader for 1 to 2 years. He gives you a little bit of outfield depth, because if somebody gets hurt, sure, Jordan Walker can come up. Or if he starts to light the world on fire, hey, let's get him up here, see what he can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that hypothetical, I don't know. I think he would have to be part of it, because in this case, Tatis is a right fielder for the Padres. They're going to want a right fielder, unless I don't know their system.
Unless
I don't know
they
if they
view Burley, right? Unless they view Burley as a potential replacement. I don't know.
That's a good point. We've put Walker in left in 2 different years, and he's been atrocious.
He got better and right.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the cases. It's weird to me. No, this is total side tangent. So we need to shut this down. It's weird to me that a player like him has yet to be able to learn the outfield. Like, sure, it's on the system and organization to not prep him correctly, but at some point, and I mean, this is me sitting in a computer in a basement, but at some point, like, the athlete has to be the athlete and be an outfielder. And you're 3 years into your MLB career now. If you can't move from right field to left field after 3 years of big league innings, like, come on, man. So hypothetically, no, it shouldn't be a problem, and he should be able to move to left. But if you were to ask me, can we put him in left this year? I'm like, no, he can't leave right field, because that's all he can play average right now.
Right. Do you? I mean, this is just completely weird, and then we can stop after this. Do you entertain any idea of him going back to third?
No, there's much better players on the field that I would put there first.
I agree. I just wanted to see you think for a moment.
If you look at the roster of position players, he's probably 6th on the list of. I'd put Pedro Pajes at third base before I would put him. And he played second base for the first time.
Get ready, buddy. You're going to try third.
Right? For real though, I probably would put him there first, just because when you look at Walker, you're like, what's going on? And you're a big fan of him, and I have hopes for him, because the dude can swing the bat like nobody's business. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would love nothing more than to see him come out this year and even just hit around 240, 250, 20 to 25 bombs.
Sure.
And at least just quiet the noise.
Everybody's hoping for that and wants that for him and for his head.
100%. The only thing that concerns me, and I've mentioned it before, is the reports that are coming out that he doesn't want to change or really work on his swing profile. Like, that's the only thing that just kind of concerns me, because he's not having success.
I mean, to be honest, though, if you look at no amount of, this is just my opinion, no amount of swing changes is going to change swinging and blowing away breaking balls. Like, you've got to just make up in your mind. And I mean, this is easy for me to say and not do. I've never been in a professional big league plate appearance in my life.
Right.
But at some point, you're just going to have to make better decisions, swing decisions, and no amount of swing adjustments going to make you hit that pitch for something. And if you adjust your swing to be able to do damage on that pitch, then pitchers are just going to find something else, and then your swing's going to be messed up again. So, like, make a better decision. Don't change your swing. Just make better swing decisions.
No, fair point. Love it.
All right, let's wrap this up. I do want to talk about the other side of the plate. The pitching rotation and the pitching staff is going to be interesting. One small detail I want to throw in there because I think this is important. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the pitching staff, but it has to do with roster management. There is a rule set in called the Rule 5 draft for anybody that's listening that's not familiar. In the contract of a player when they sign or drafted by an organization, there's a certain amount of time that they can remain a minor league player before they're forced to go on the 40-man roster. I believe it's 7 years, 5 years. I can't remember what the actual time. Or if an organization does not put them on that 40-man roster, they are gone into what's called the Rule 5 draft, which gives the player the opportunity to go to another organization and get on their 40-man. And every year, every organization has to decide to protect players. And to protect them means to put them on the 40-man roster. And the reason I say this is important is because this year, coming into the deadline, I believe it's in 2 weeks, 1 week. I feel like I should have that information, but I don't. Let's see if I can scroll up real quick. And so the draft is in December. The deadline is this coming Tuesday, so in 2 days at 6 p.m. The Cardinals specifically have 5 players that they have to protect, which means they need to put them on their 40-man so they can't go in the Rule 5 draft. And normally, like last year, I think we made 3 moves. I know Tink Hintz got put on the 40-man, even though he's probably not going to see a major league inning for at least another year. Yeah. Important ones are Leonardo Bernal, who we were just talking about, who is probably the catching prospect that we want to pan out the most. Joshua Baez, who is an outfielder, has shown a lot of pop this season, has grown tremendously. Cooper Jerpy is a left-handed starter he pitched in spring training. He got an invite, and he has got some disgusting breaking stuff. He just had Tommy John, so he's definitely not pitching for at least another year.
Yeah,
into the mid-season probably.
Right, and I wonder for him though if he's still recovering, they maybe have a loophole that they can put him on injured reserve.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can go on the 60-day for sure, which takes you off the 40-man, but I think you have to be on the 40 in the off season.
Yeah, I would have to deep dive into that to fully grab it.
The last 2 names I want to mention is Blaze Jordan, who we just got in a trade for Steven Matz from Boston, and then Bryson Motts, who's a left-handed pitcher who had a pretty decent season. So that's 5 people that would need to go on the 40-man, of which we're definitely, if we're talking about trade candidates, Donovan's going to come off the 40-man, Arenado's going to come off the 40-man. But that's also meaning we're probably putting 5 players, hypothetically, that aren't going to see the majors. So I just wanted everybody to have that in the back of their mind when we talk about the pitching rotation, because we also have to mention the room that's on the roster for it.
Yeah, so, and I think a quick caveat to that, some of those names, though, I think will also be good tags. Like I think of, outside of Bernal, all of those players could be partners with somebody to get a little bit more in a trade offer.
Let's talk about that real quick. So, of the names I mentioned, Leonardo Bernal, Joshua Baez, Jerpy, Blaze Jordan, and Bryson Motts.
Yeah, and I think Blaze and Baez are 2 candidates that I think could potentially garner some pretty high interest from teams.
So Blaze Jordan is a right-handed. He's pretty much the right-handed version of Nolan Gorman, prospect-wise.
Right.
I mean, he's never seen a major league inning, so he could be worse or he could be better. Right. We talked about Aaron Judge, and I looked this up the other day. He never had much more than an 800 OPS in the minors. and
Yeah, I mean, you
made
never
an
know.
adjustment and
Right.
went one daughter. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know what players are gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, but Blaze Jordan's profile is a right-handed Gorman. Jerpy is just a left-handed. What do they call that release point? The
Sidearm.
Sidearm
like
release
3/4. Yep.
Yeah, Leonardo Bernal is a catcher, a switch-hitting catcher who's like 6'1" or 6'2".
I think he's on the 40 man. Like I think they will make a spot for him. I don't include him in those trades.
The one thing, all 5 of these prospects are in our top 30.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that they make intriguing points, but I also think like, we're not talking about, and we'll get into the pitching side, but we're not talking about like Pozo and Pajes, and those type of players that they may move on from, or even some of the, bullpen pieces that we had this year that they just move on from, because we don't need them, and it opens up those 40-man spots for those players.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So the main thing I want to talk about at the moment, we're going to assume that Sonny Gray is gone this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
So at the start of spring training, who do you predict is in the starting rotation?
Of who we currently have, or are you talking about of anybody?
I guess let me phrase it this way. How many from the current roster are going to be in the starting rotation? Now, I'm gonna say is the start of spring training because we don't know how spring training is going to end.
Right.
At the start of spring training, who on our current roster, or how many on our current roster are going to be in the starting rotation?
I think at the beginning of spring, you're probably looking at a guaranteed 3, probably 4.
Give me their names.
So you're probably going to see, obviously, Libertor.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see who I would say Palante, even though I'm not excited about that.
Yeah.
I think you'll see Kyle Leahy in spring as a starter because they'll want to give him that opportunity. And then I could see someone like a Quinn Matthews getting an opportunity if he's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's at the beginning of spring. That's letting go of Sonny Gray. Obviously, Miles Michaelis is not coming back. You got those 2 players are gone. There's some options that you could toy with that may have a better training camp that get an opportunity. But I think those are probably the 4 players that are going to get a legitimate look. And now, barring we trade for, a quality starting pitcher, those are the guys I think that are going to get the first looks.
So are you confident in saying you're expecting Matthews? Again, this is spring, but I'm thinking hypothetically in spring training, our rotation is going to be our expectation of the rotation coming out of spring training. Again, injuries can change the whole thing.
Right.
Are you confident in saying Matthews would be?
I think he's going to be a part of the starting at the beginning of spring training. Again, barring what his health is.
Yeah, I can only confidently say 3.
Okay.
So I think it's Matthew Liberatore, Michael McGreevy, or one or the other of Palante or who did you say? What is his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Leahy?
Wow. Kyle Leahy, yeah. I don't think both of them make it. And when I say make it, I think only one of them is going to be a starter, and one is either depth or in the bullpen.
Right. I think McGreevy, I agree with you. I think it should be Palante and Leahy fighting for a position, and whichever one doesn't get it, the other goes to the bullpen. Yeah. Is my opinion.
Or they go to the AAA for depth.
Right. But I think ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to be a battle between McGreevy and Leahy. Even though McGreevy's proven it.
Really?
For some reason, that's just where I'm settling at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think Leahy's going to get the first opportunity because we already know what McGreevy is.
Yeah. I think it's between Leahy and Palante. That's an interesting
I wish. Like I said, I wish, but I think there's some intrigue about Palante's potential for swing and miss.
Not intrigued, like he could get better at it.
Yes.
Interesting. That's. I don't know if I agree with that one, but I can't necessarily argue it either. I mean, he had one bad season and one good season. It's kind of like the, for lack of a better word, it's the pitching version of Gorman, right? We've had one spectacular season. Now he only pitched 2/3 of it. It wasn't the full season because he came back in 24. When did he come back? Like June or something,
right?
And he had the lowest ERA on the team, and was phenomenal. My only caution is both him and Liberatore still have reached their inning limits every season so far. Right. Like Libby capped out. Let me find this out for sure, because I know Palante threw like 160 this year.
Yeah, and I think Libby was like at the 120 to 140 mark.
Yeah, let me find out. So this year he threw 151.2. Okay. Last year was 86. So
this year they'll hope that he's got a full run at it.
Yeah, realistically, he's probably got a 180 innings or something. Sure. And I know he's one of those guys that's just going to go out there and throw, and they're working with him. I know they've talked about this in an interview, but they're working with him on like, yeah, we know you can just throw the ball, but let's like have quality throws, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a workhorse type of pitcher.
Right. And McGreevy's 5 for me. I mean, I know Bloom's gone out and said they're eyeballing young starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But how realistic is that to get? Like that it's a lot harder to get that. So I think you could see a roster at the beginning of spring where it's those 5 guys. As crazy as it sounds, I hope that's not the case, because then that means we missed on any of the young starting pitching.
We missed on everything.
Right.
The thing for me is, so this year was an anomaly in the fact that no starter had an injury. Matthew Liberatore skipped a few starts because of fatigue, because he's never hit those innings before, but like no starter got hurt. The chances of that happening again is almost impossible.
Agreed.
So I believe the standard is you need like 7 starters in your rotation to make it through a season. So if those guys are the 5 starters, then there's no protection in
that's
the
why
system
I say
for you.
It's,
in my opinion, this is my take. They have to find 2.
I hope they do.
They're getting rid of 1 in Sonny Gray, so they have to get that position replaced. I think they're gonna need another one, and I mean like another MLB ready starter, not one to sit, because they need AAA depth as well.
Right.
And I don't see a world where that can't happen. Not happen.
You know, there's a name that's floating around is Chris Bassett, because they don't think he's going to demand quite as much on the free agent market. You sign him to a 2-year deal if he's willing to take that. He kind of comes in and fills that Michaelis-esque role where it's a durable starting pitcher.
Yeah, but a better
you're
version.
hoping. But I agree.
I don't mind that move as long as it doesn't cost money. Like when I say cost,
like a lot of money.
Yeah, right. If you can get a starter for, I mean, essentially this kind of went crazy the last couple days. But not Matthews, Steven Matz. Contract was 4 years, 44, which made him $11 million.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cheap starter. Now he was injured for half or 2/3 of the contract.
Right.
So you hope you're paying for at least a healthy version of that. But if you could get a healthy version of that at that cost, you take that every day of the week. Now he was a guy in the 2 years, I was looking this up the other day. In the 2 years that he pitched and was healthy, he was a 5 and dive, 150 innings type of person. In my mind, though, like $12 million for 150 innings is a pretty good deal. And if they're pretty decent innings, like that's cheap. Pitching is stupid expensive. Like I know on 101 ESPN they're talking like crazy about getting Cease, and I would love Cease. I'm a big fan. He's going to cost $28 million a year.
100%.
So and you're going to get a lot of innings out of him. You're going to get a lot of swing and miss stuff out of him. But he's going to be expensive. But if you can get a half of ERA higher than what you expect his to be for $12 million, you take that in a season where, what is the team? You know what I mean? Like, what is the season going to be? Yeah. But if they did both, I say yes to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. No, I agree. One that's fascinating to me, like I would really consider, and I love, my heart here. I love Wilson Contreras, but like Boston has a big need at first, and if they're willing and Willie is interested in playing in Boston, they have a guy that they stole, I think, from San Francisco, and that's Kyle Harrison. And I've been saying that for a couple of years, that I think you could actually pull from Boston for someone like Willie that gives you another young guy. Now he's got to get his control fixed. I don't know what it looked like towards the end of this past season. Yeah. But that could be another guy that starts in AAA, gives you some depth.
And you've just added tons of coaching and pitching development to your system.
Right.
So, yeah. This offseason is going to be fascinating. And we'll circle back up to this in a month. But they have the opportunity to trade and get a lot of talent just to put into the system. Because going back to the Tatis thing, say we make that trade, there's not enough pitching in the system to make that talent worth it. And in this franchise's history, they've never gone out and bought really high-end pitching. Right. Zach Wheeler, Dylan Cease, those guys. They never paid for that. So, which means you have to develop it, and they don't have enough. They essentially don't have enough bodies in the system to bring that up. So, you're going to have to use all of this current talent that you have. Get a ton of pitchers in your system, because is a quarter of them going to pan out? And then you go get your superstar. I just think we're a year or two away from adding that.
Yeah.
But if you could do it early for the right deal, obviously you say yes.
Sure. I mean, because for me, if you could get him knowing that you have opportunities next year, maybe it does change some things. Because like I start to think, yes, you're going to have to start to pay a little bit more. And I don't know where ownership lands. Obviously, we've seen them over the last few years. They're not willing to spend that money. But if you could get a Tatis, and let's say you do keep some of the key players that we talked about in that process, but then you could go out and maybe get a deal for someone like a Sandy Alcantara because of the down year he had, bring him in, potentially maybe this is probably going to be a higher cost, but like a Zach Gallen. And I know I'm stabbing Cardinals fans in the heart because we had both of those guys already.
Yeah, I'm not attached to that emotionally.
Right. I'm not either. And so what I would say in that side is you get two pitchers like that all of a sudden to plug in with the young guys as potential depth. Yeah. Again, they're not proven, so you might have to rotate them and play the up and down game as best as you can. Yeah. At some point during the season, but it gives you a legitimate chance, in my opinion, by bringing Weatherholt up, adding Tatis, figuring out, more consistent playing time for someone like Alec Burleson. So, I mean, he's not just DH. Right. Those type of things, all of a sudden this gets pretty interesting. Not that, again, I'm not going to sit here and declare that they would be World Series contenders, but I think they would definitely be playoff contenders with the possibility of looking like what the Arizona Diamondbacks or like the Cleveland Guardians look like. Yeah. This past year.
And to your point earlier, from earlier, Donovan going to Cleveland, there is a front office person that just joined the Cardinals that comes from Cleveland.
So they know the prospects.
And Bloom knows the Boston system.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited, even though technically this team is probably not a playoff team on paper right now.
No. It's going to take something special.
Yeah, you never know what can happen in a season. I don't think it's worth ever writing a team off from something, but you just want to go out and watch baseball and watch fun baseball. And if this team can just be fun to watch and exciting, I think it's definitely worthwhile. But I do think this offseason is going to be pretty active because they've got too many moves that they need to make, and they've got too many pitching holes that they need to fill. Yeah. And if like we said, the owners are not going to go sign a bunch of starters like we think they should, but realistically it's not worth the money. Like, you don't want to spend $300 million on a starter for this team this year. Right. It's just not worth it. It's not good investment yet. But if they can refill the talent pipeline, and you never know the speed of like 3 pitchers could show up this year, and like Liam Doyle and Quinn Matthews are like, oh shoot,
Right.
they're ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Could take.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you've got a couple guys that kind of are surprising you. You talked about Matt's, but then there's Henderson.
Yeah.
That's been kind of
Sean Henderson
moving up. Right. And so it's like there's some intriguing options that could force an opportunity for you here if everything falls right. And the one thing I'll give a lot of credit to, and we haven't really said a whole lot about this, but you got to give props to Bloom. I mean, the one thing that he's doing coming into this season is he's being very open and honest.
Yep.
And he's talking about the process. He's talking about what they're looking for. He's not trying to hide it from the fans, which I think is a stark difference from the past few seasons with Mo. And so that, I think, at least gives you an opportunity for hope.
Yeah. Just briefly for some Cardinal fans, some names to look out for if you guys read the news is JJ Weatherholt's a name. Liam Doyle's a name. He's a pitcher we just drafted who's got some really nasty pitching power
and attitude.
Yep, and attitude. Quinn Matthews is a lefty pitcher who's pretty close to the majors. Leonardo Bernal is a catcher that's going to be pretty close. And I would say another name that's probably a little farther away but worth paying attention to is Raniel Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He's an 18-year-old catcher, and he's got some ridiculous power. He hit, what did he hit, 26 home runs, 24?
Yeah. I think he's going to actually
at
end
18
up
years
probably,
old is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he's going to actually end up being probably a corner outfielder or DH.
Yeah,
I think that's where he's going to end up landing at the end of the day.
Yeah, my only argument is if you can get that production behind the plate, that's a cheat code for your team.
If Bernal doesn't work out, absolutely. But if Bernal's the catcher,
it could be both of them. Like, gone are the days of Yachty catching 162 games.
Sure.
And if it ends up, I mean, this is going to be 3 or 4 years. If it ends up Bernal and Rodriguez rotating 81 and 81, that's a cheat code that all 29 other teams would dream of having.
Oh, absolutely, because then the other one's DH on the days that they're not. But then you're talking about adding 3 catchers yet again. I mean, it's not uncommon to us. So I mean,
that's standard practice these days, man. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and again, we just encourage you, please leave some comments on some of the takes. Like what you think about what we think, what we said. Leave some comments. Let's keep a conversation going. And as far as the rest of the off season, we're just gonna kind of be doing some episodes here and there on news as it's happening. And then when we get close to spring training, we'll start ramping up for spring and WBC content specifically. So appreciate you guys. Thank you. See you next time.